If you're like me, then you probably like weirdcore. But for us to be able to enjoy weirdcore, we need weirdcore artists to make it for us. You know, sometimes it can be pretty easy to forget that these images don't just come out of nowhere, that for every image there has to be an artist out there who actually puts in hours to make it. You know, sometimes I feel like I and probably you just go on Reddit, go on Discord, whatever it is, you see an edit and you think it's cool, but you kind of forget that somebody had to make that. And that got me thinking, you know, that's probably what makes weirdcore so special, that every single edit has somebody putting their heart and their soul into it. It's an expressionist art form, and I really wanted to know more about how these images are made. So there was only really one thing I could do: talk to some artists. So I conducted a few interviews asking these artists about their work, how they make their work, the personal aspect, and all of that. So if any of that seems interesting to you, keep watching, because I recorded all those interviews and they are here in this video for you to watch. And those interviews will play now. First question, can you explain your journey into the world of weirdcore? What initially drew you to this aesthetic?
Okay, well, I know in 2020, like 2021, the backrooms really started popping up. I mean, it was 2019 too, I think, but liminal spaces in general started getting really popular, and I was getting like really fascinated by them. I was like watching compilations of them on YouTube. I think weirdcore and liminal spaces kind of go like hand in hand.
Yeah, that's where I started too. I remember I found one of those like childhood places you remember compilations, and that was like
that like the Minecraft cave sounds. But weirdcore was just something that I could do at home. I didn't need to go out to do photography or whatever. The edits just look sick. I really liked dreamcore at the time too. I think it was an interest, like a mix of Y2K, dreamcore, and liminal spaces that drew me to weirdcore, I guess.
I don't remember the first time I've heard of weirdcore, but it was probably a picture compilation uploaded to YouTube. What really got me into it was the video Polygon Donut made about weirdcore. Just blew me away. Felt a lot of deep, complex emotions that I wanted more of. So I made my first edit a week or so later.
Can you explain your journey into the world of weirdcore and what initially drew you to this aesthetic?
There is a YouTuber called Polygon Donut. He's pretty famous. His weirdcore video got into my recommendation. I immediately fell in love with this aesthetic, and I searched for the Discord server about it, and here I am.
When I first got in touch with weirdcore, it was around like the mid 2020 or like late 2020, I would say. You know, obviously lockdown, so the internet was blooming with a lot of things. I think it's probably most likely from social media, and also it probably started as with liminal spaces. How I describe it, it's surreal, but also because it's like digital. You know, there's like this heavy emphasis on JPEG compression and old internet webcore kind of stuff. Yeah, because I was like born in the late 2000s, and currently I'm a teen, but I basically just grew up on like YouTube and Google and, you know, a lot of the old 2010 stuff. And yeah, so it really spoke out to me. When I really started looking into the r/weirdcore subreddit, I found that they have a Discord, obviously, and I joined the Discord. And, you know, because I'm a really chronicle Discord user, so I have to have Discord.
What is the main idea or emotion that you aim to convey in your weirdcore art? Like, what fuels it for you?
Well, nostalgia, definitely. Confusion. A lot of weirdcore edits. They lack a lot of context. You look at them and you're like, what the f is this? It doesn't really make sense. And me personally, I really like dread. I try to mix like scary stuff, like really disturbing stuff, like into my edits, but not everyone does that. That's just me.
The main idea I try to portray is nostalgia. There's just a very specific bittersweet nostalgia from the 2000s that I want to relive. Most of my edits also have a secondary emotion. It's can be more positive, like peaceful or blissful, more negative, hateful or fearful. I try to pull from what I'm currently feeling and put some of it into my work.
What is the main idea or emotion that you aim to convey in your art?
I usually go for comforting or confusing feelings, as these two are my favorite. I rarely ever go for eerie or unsettling feelings.
Usually emotion-wise, it's not really there. So I don't really have a specific emotion, unless if it's like a few specific cases, which I will talk about later. But the general idea is still that surreal and abstract kind of feeling. I want it to have that feeling where it's like it's not only surreal, but it's like very peaceful. It kind of calms you in a sense. The thing is that a lot of people don't like it when you say that there's like an overlap between dreamcore and weirdcore. when you want to go abstract, dreams just so happen to be abstract. So, you know, they kind of mix together. Dreamcore is recreated, as in like, I saw this in a dream, I recreated it. But weirdcore is more like lost and found on the internet.
How do you find inspiration for your creations?
I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, I guess I'm really active in the server, and there's a lot of cool people there that make cool edits. So I guess I like subconsciously take inspiration from them.
For finding inspiration, I find it in anything and everything I can. Memories, dreams, emotions, internet phenomena, unedited pictures, editing styles and types and tools, suburbia, nature, and my friends have all been inspirations for my edits.
How do you find inspiration for your creations?
Sometimes I see something in real life that inspires me, or I look at people's edit to get inspiration, and sometimes I get inspired from my own edits. It's kind of weird. There was this edit I made I did not really like. I looked at it for a little bit to see what I can improve. Then suddenly something snaps in my head and I get an idea for a really good edit. That edit ended up becoming one of my favorites edits I have ever made.
Usually my weirdcore edits are like initiated, kind of like there has to be like a catalyst, like, oh, maybe I'm not feeling too good today, or maybe I saw this really cool photo that I really want to use, or something like that.
I have a sub question for you. Is that a tattoo on your hand?
Nah, I drew this in class. It's like a square with like a smiley.
Dude, I was at school today and I saw one of those balloons that were like yellow with a smiley face, and I was like,
I have those in real life. I thought that was just weirdcore.
I almost outed myself as a weirdcore person in public. That would have been embarrassing.
Yeah, no one in real life even knows what weirdcore is, or that I make it. No, one thing was, because I do graphic design in school, right? I was talking to my teacher and he looked up what weirdcore was. I don't know if you've ever Googled weirdcore, but that shit is not weirdcore.
Are there any notable influences or artists in the weirdcore community or beyond who have significantly shaped your work?
Sanford is worth a mention.
Sanford?
Just you look at his edits and he was like kind of the first person to do a lot of the main concepts that we see right now. You like hyperpop? You know, 100 Gex was really influential in hyperpop.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the sounds that you hear now were influenced by 100 Gex.
My all-time biggest influence was also my favorite editor, Sanford, who's now deactivated, but an absolute weirdcore legend who's made so many classic images.
Are there any notable influences or artists in the weirdcore community or beyond who have significantly shaped your work?
I was thinking about this a lot, but nothing really comes into my mind. I guess I take inspiration from every artist.
And there's nobody that really like sharply influenced your taste now or anything?
Not really.
Yeah, I've tried making weirdcore art, but I can never make it look like compressed and like old. Like I try, but then it always just like doesn't look right. And it never has like the vibe.
It's definitely like a specific type of compression. There's like websites and shit that get the compression right.
What tools, techniques, or software do you typically use to create your art?
There's a website called pixlr.com. A lot of people use it. It's like online. Yeah, I mean for weirdcore edits, it does the job.
When I'm creating images, I only ever use GIMP on PC and Photopea on laptop. They're 100% free, have some really good features. Pretty much all you ever need for editing.
What tools, techniques, or software do you use in your art?
I've made over 150 edits, and all of them were made on my phone. I mainly use Ibis Paint X and KineMaster and some other niche apps to make my edits.
I've only ever used two softwares to make my weirdcore edits. One is Photoshop CS6. Now I use Photopea, which is the online kind of accurate knockoff of Photoshop, and it's free. So yeah, I love it so much.
How have you handled criticism or negative feedback about your work?
I only really post my edits to like the weirdcore Discord and sometimes to the subreddit. For the last few months, I guess I would consider myself a pretty experienced editor. I don't really even get much critique, but when I was first starting out, community was like really friendly and stuff. It was really hard to like get mad at them, the critique. You would just like take it to heart and you would become a better artist with it.
At first, it feels really hard to deal with negative feedback or criticism. I was really scared to post anything anywhere, and if no one positively reacted, I would delete posts. But over time, I found a lot of the feedback's actually very helpful, and I've gotten better by listening to what other people have to say.
How have you handled criticism or negative feedback about your work?
I think I have handled criticism pretty well. I always try to improve if someone criticizes my edits and try to avoid mistakes.
When I show people that don't know what weirdcore is, they think it's f***ing weird. They don't understand it. It's like we intentionally compress images to make them look horrible. Really, it doesn't make sense, you know? So when I post to my Instagram and people there don't know what weirdcore is, they think it's f***ing weird, and they think I'm like actually just horrible.
I'm taking pictures.
I don't know, they don't understand that I intentionally make it look bad.
No, I remember I was recording a video at my dad's house. Some family friends came over and I didn't know, and I got a text saying, people are here to see you, whatever. So then I finished my video and I came back down, and there was like a hot girl, like a really hot girl, right? Sitting in the kitchen. I was like, oh, okay, I gotta impress. So then, I offered her a glass of water. I was rizzing, right?
A water?
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, you want some water? I got a glass of water. But then my dad was like, oh yeah, Aiden was upstairs recording a weirdcore video, doing weirdcore. And I was like,
Oh my god.
why'd you say that?
Your chance. Hey, you never saw her again, did you?
I never saw her again. I tried to fix it, but
So
it couldn't be fixed.
I know, don't tell anyone you do weirdcore, because people are gonna not want to talk to you.
What challenges have you encountered in creating your art, and how did you overcome them?
This is one of the hardest questions. I was always like really good at weirdcore. Never faced any issue.
You're just the best ever.
I came in the server, I was immediately the best. Nah, but in the beginning, kinda intentionally make look old. I don't know, it just doesn't come naturally. Like, you're trying to make something look like weirdcore. Really, you should go into it like when I make edits, I put myself in the perspective of like an angsty teenager going through some emo phase, probably has a mental illness. They sit down and make some edit on their computer from like 2002. Then it just happens to look like that. Like good weirdcore, I think, is supposed to look accidental.
What challenges have you encountered in creating your art, and how did you overcome them?
My main problem with making weirdcore is inspiration. But like how I said, I watch weirdcore compilations or look at people edits to get some inspiration. But if you keep looking for inspiration, you'll find it eventually.
Mainly, it's two things. One, finding time to do it or finding motivation to do it. And two, start it. Just starting somewhere, like base image or like text or like an idea.
How do you incorporate elements of nostalgia and disorientation into your work?
About the nostalgic part, I mean, you just use graphics that they used in the 2000s, or like typical tropes that they used from the 2000s, like specific fonts like Arial and Comic Sans. Really remind me of the 2000s. Just everything was pretty horrible back in the day. Everything was like really compressed. And about the disorienting part, you just don't add context. Like you add one caption. It's a caption that says something that doesn't make sense. For example, I'm gonna just make up a weirdcore edit right now. It's a photo of a door. In the door, it's open and the room is lit up. The door is just like black, like there's a void, there's nothing. Then it'll have the caption like, it was 8 years ago. And you're like, what the does that have to do with the door or a void?
No, but yeah, like I've always seen weirdcore, like at least part of it, like the disorienting part, as like I'm just like dreaming, right? Because when you dream, you're just placed in the middle of the situation and you don't know what's going on, and you're just like in the middle of like you're like at like your grandparents' house and it's like 10 years ago, and there's like a birthday party going on or something, and there's just like nostalgia there, but you just like don't know what the hell's going on.
Because you don't know what happened before the dream, and you don't know what's gonna happen after the dream. You're just placed in the middle of it. When I wake up and I remember a dream, I feel, or during a dream even, I feel really similar to how I feel when I get a weirdcore.
How do you incorporate nostalgia and disorientation into your work?
I use old fonts that are associated with the old days of the internet. Times New Roman, Comic Sans, Arial, and I also compress the image and reduce the pixels to make it look old. And the base image is really important too. A good base image can really convey feelings of nostalgia, disorientation, and it's also important to not over-edit and add too many elements to the edit. It's better to leave it up for the viewer's interpretation to fill in the gaps.
I export it, compress it with my JPEG compressor or whatever. I take my photo or edit, and then I put it back in Photopea. I shrink the image size down to 500 by 500, and then I render it back with the compressor, and then I bring it back into a 975 by 975. What's like the general like look I have for it? So there's only really one base final rule, which is make it ugly, kind of. It's if you look, make it kind of ugly. It's like when you visit like a really old GeoCities page and you see that really specific kind of ugliness to it.
What is your take on the evolution of weirdcore over the years, and like how long have you been in the community?
So I've been in the community for about 6 months or more, and I've looked at really old weirdcore edits, and I think nothing from the general vibes have changed much. It's only that the editing have gotten better, which is a step in the right direction in my opinion.
The evolution of weirdcore over the years is something I'd want to know more about, but the history trees become very murky, so it's hard to know for sure. The first editor that's been recognized that I know of is Kiss, who made edits like middle of 2017. The general style for this older weirdcore, we'll call proto-weirdcore, was an aesthetic base with some kind of caption or text overlaying it. That was the formula that would really start weirdcore as an aesthetic. Over time, there became more and more elements that got put in. Image compression's a big one. It's like makes edits look quote-unquote crunchy. And I'd also say they've slowly gotten more and more surreal, like dreamlike in quality.
Do you have any advice for newcomers who are interested in making their own weirdcore art?
Don't use eye angels. If you're on TikTok and you watch weirdcore on TikTok, you got the wrong weirdcore, bro. That's not weirdcore. People mix weirdcore and dreamcore and other cores. Eyes and eye angels are some of the most repeated and like honestly lazy things to put in an edit. Like it'd just be a liminal space, red text, and eye angels, which is actually the cover art for that one album you made.
Yes, it is. It actually literally is. Just eyes, like a stretched liminal space.
I remember vividly thinking like, okay, the music is good, but this cover art, I think weirdcore specifically focuses more on like the 2000s, less on like dreams. Like it has dreamy elements. I think the main difference is just like weirdcore doesn't have eyes.
My only advice for people trying to start making edits is just keep making them. If you don't feel motivated, make more. Just keep making. I mean, you know, practice is perfect is a very cliche thing to say, but I've lived through that. It's the only way to get better. You have to keep trying. I would also say that you should just enjoy what you enjoy. Everyone has their own thing. Everyone finds their own things in the aesthetic.
Do you have any advice that you want to give to newcomers who are interested in weirdcore art or making their own weirdcore art?
As a weirdcore artist that makes all of his edits on a phone, I see a lot of newcomers that say, I want to make a weirdcore edit, but I'm on my phone. I'd say it really does not matter if you're on phone or not. I've met a lot of amazing weirdcore creators that only use their phone, and you can be one too. You just got to be creative. It's not about the editing software, it's about how you...
Okay, any newcomers to the weirdcore? I wouldn't say I'm like this advanced weirdcore expert on whatever, but I would call myself an intermediate. The most common like motif or like the really was that like the flying eye, oh yes, the eye angels, like oh eye angels, oh don't bother mother, or whatever the TikTok kids say. It's just that they don't have a really good understanding on why weirdcore is more than this perception they have of it. Like I'm also learning this right now. I see a lot of weirdcore art that speaks out to me, even though it kind of has like the generic feel to it, you know, like the black and then the red text, the white text, whatever. Not really a lot of play around with it, but it works at the end of the day. It's because it's an expressionist kind of art form, you have to really just make it. You can use you can use inspiration, you can use reference, you know. I see a lot of people who still use the white text, red text, whatever, like arrows, skies, whatever.
Join the Discord and post your edits there, because I might not think people will, but people will give you advice. People will be honest with you and give you honest critique. That's how everyone got better. Like there's a lot of weirdcore artists that I saw that joined, posted their first edit, and it was like kind of dog shit. People gave them honest critique and feedback, and they took it to heart. They experimented more, and now they're like insane.
Yeah, it seems that the whole community, from what I've seen, is very like not toxic and very like chill and good.
It's a very welcoming, friendly community. I've rarely seen like any drama there ever.
There's also a Discord really good for that. It's called Poise Weirdcore Discord server. That's a really good one that you can join as well.
Wait, wow, that's your server?
Yeah, that's my server.
So you're just plugging that?
I'm just plugging my server.
Oh, I see.
Join my Discord.
Well, if you're watching this and put the text on screen, look up
bevel
on SoundCloud, any streaming platform. That's where I put my music. I have a new song out June 13th. I don't know when this video is gonna drop.
Hey, welcome back to my red room. To be honest, some of these answers that they gave were pretty interesting. I kind of thought they were all gonna be cliche, but some people gave actual unique answers that I thought were really good. Leave a comment discussing your favorite part of the interview and I'll try to respond to it. I do really think it's interesting to see what you guys think about the videos that I make, and I'd love to have a few conversations down there in the comments about what your favorite part of this video was. If you want to see more weirdcore content like this, please subscribe because I upload weirdcore like every week. And also please leave a like because it doesn't cost you anything and it actually does really help me and the algorithm quite a bit. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope all of you watching have a great night. Sweet dreams.